Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I, um, I welcome you all to today's episode of Modesty's Monday Motivation Series. My name is Iken Naumezudike, and I hope we're all keeping safe, and I hope we're all enduring this lockdown. It's for our own good and it's for our own benefits. Wherever we are, please stay home, stay safe, save lives, and follow the government health guidelines. Okay, so today's episode is really that of necessity because this platform is geared towards education. Yeah, financial education. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing every Monday. But education is education, and if the education is not relevant to the time, it's a waste. So I really feel that out of necessity, I really had to, talk about some things today and dedicate this day's episode to what we are currently experiencing globally and all over the world. So the talk of the town and the talk of the world now is COVID-19, the coronavirus. And with what's going on around us, I just felt it's really necessary for me to come and share one or two views that I have about coronavirus and the lessons we have learned from it so far, or we can learn from it so far. And then basically talk about some of the conspiracy theories that have been flying around very recently. I hope I have enough time to really touch on the things I want to touch on because I really am passionate about what I want to talk about this afternoon. Okay, so basically, I want to talk about some lessons we have learned so far from coronavirus, and I want to talk about some of those conspiracy theories that are flying around. You see, coronavirus came upon us like a biblical thief in the night. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody expected it. Nobody was prepared for it. It just descended upon the world and everybody was just playing catch up. Every measure that was put in by any government was really reactionary. There was no proactive measure put in place to prevent or stop it, prevent it from occurring because nobody knew it was going to occur. No government made budgets for this. No government made provisions for that in their budget. So now emergency budgets are coming up by different governments trying to cope with the effects and to cushion the effects of coronavirus. So it's something that was unprecedented and it came upon us. It came with a lot of uncertainties. It came with a lot of discomfort, with a lot of stress, frustration. People have stayed indoors for a long time, and some people are getting hungry. Some are running out of food. Some are getting frustrated and stressed, and which is very, very understandable. Those are the things that the coronavirus came with because nobody saw it coming. But then, for our own good, we're still asked to stay indoors. It's unfortunate that some governments are doing their best to look after their citizens while they stay at home and make life a little bit more comfortable for them. While some governments haven't even got the capacity to do that. So the citizens are really angry and they're anxious and they're frustrated, which is also very understandable. But throughout all this, I just wanted to see if there are lessons that we can learn from this whole episode, and if there are lessons that we can learn from this corona virus. So I've put down 10 possible lessons that we can learn so far, and I put down 10 other conspiracy theories that I really want to deal with this time around. I hope I have time to go through all of them, but I'll rush through them as much as I can. So first of all, the number one lesson I want to talk about from this coronavirus is that do you know that coronavirus has taught us that global cooperation is possible and it's a better option than nationalism? Before the coronavirus, there were lots of populist opinions, nationalist entities springing up and there. People thinking that, oh, we can lock our borders, we can control our borders, we can take care of ourselves. We don't need anybody else to help us survive. We can survive on our own. Everybody else can go to hell. We need sovereignty. We need independence. We need to be on our own and all that. All those populist groups and populist ideas and nationalist views and all that thinking that they don't need anybody's cooperation to succeed economically and politically. Now coronavirus is upon us, and the whole world are now beginning to rejoin and begin to cooperate again because everybody is looking for solution. And it's now obvious that you cannot survive on your own. No man is an island, and it applies to countries as well. The G20 countries are holding video conferences. Boris Johnson holding video conference with the other members of G20. You can see Vladimir Putin on one end, Boris Johnson on the other end, and other members of the G20, and all the G whatever, G7 and G whatever, they're all collaborating. Test kits. They are sourcing test kits globally. Globally. They are sourcing ventilators globally. Countries are sourcing for uh, PPE kits globally. Everybody is saying, what do you have? What can we get? And what can we not get from you? People who have, some are even donating, some are selling. People are doing everything they can to support other countries in terms of, helping out solve this problem. So you can see that the populist views and the nationalist views that people were holding prior to this time were really unfounded. It was based on selfish, sentimental views that benefited no one. So coronavirus has shown us that global cooperation is better than the nationalist and populist views that was flying around before now. Because all those who held those nationalist views, we cannot see them anymore. Even in England here, when people were talking about Brexit and all the rest of it, oh, we don't need Europe, we don't need the European Union, we don't need anybody. We can do on our own and we can survive on our own. Where are those nationalist and populist view promoters? They are nowhere to be found because this is the time to cooperate. And they can now see that Britain on its own cannot survive. The Nazis that come from different parts of Europe who left because they were feeling very unwelcome and they were feeling very uncomfortable with the environment that was being charged up and made very toxic for them to work in. Some of them left, and now the NHS are looking for nurses left, right, and center, and they don't mind the nationality anymore. Global cooperation is better than nationalism. Number two lesson from coronavirus is that family can be prioritized. Now everybody is on lockdown. Yeah, everybody now gives priority to their families. Everybody now pays attention to their families. So before now it was difficult. People were like saying, "Oh, I cannot prioritize family." You see, work has to come first because the family has to eat. We've got to make enough money for the children, for my generation, and all that. At the expense of family, it was difficult to find a balance then. But now people are finding balance. People are working from home and still attending to family. People are now having to sit down with their families to really see and get a grip of what's going on in their family. Now, people now consider their family before anything else because whatever they are doing now, they do not want to go out there, contact this virus and bring it home and bring it to the family. So you can see that the family is being placed first now. But the coronavirus has taught us somehow that we can find a balance. We can make space for the family. The family can actually come first. So no matter how you've not been getting along with maybe your partner or your spouse or your family, now you are forced to stay with them at home and then you are forced to prioritize them because if you go out there and contact the virus, your family will suffer for it. That's number two lesson. Number three lesson that coronavirus has taught us so far is that power and status are meant to serve humanity. So many powerful people now are regretting the things that they didn't do when they had the opportunity to do it, when they were in the position to do it. I'll give an example with my country, Nigeria. There are so many past leaders who had the opportunity to serve the people by setting up robust, strong, and very effective healthcare system. But they didn't do it because they felt they were in position of power. They can leave the country when they are sick and come in whenever they like. So whatever happens to the healthcare sector and the healthcare system in their countries is none of their business. And this attitude is replicated all over Africa. Our healthcare system is almost non-existent. But then African leaders ride the most expensive and luxurious cars. They live in the best of palaces. They lodge in the best of hotels in Europe and America and all over the world. They have houses all over the world, worth millions of dollars and millions of pounds. They have money stashed in foreign economies and all that at the expense of their home healthcare sector. What did coronavirus do? Every border was shut down. Every country was struggling to cope with their own cases. So the power and the status they had that they did not use to serve their people came back to haunt them. Because now, when you are showing symptoms of coronavirus, you have to stay in your country and get treated by the same dilapidated healthcare sector that you did not pay attention to, where you had to pay attention to them. And then coming back here to the UK, we can see how much damage the underfunding of the NHS has done for the past 10 years by, the Conservative government, the underfunding and the cutting of public services, the cutting off of bursaries to student nurses, and then the toxic environment that was created for foreign nurses and doctors with Brexit and all that. We can see that these things are not having impact. So when you are in a position of power and authority, it's an instrument of service, not an instrument to promote your own personal selfish agenda or to oppress and suppress others simply because they don't have the same privilege that you have. So power and status are meant to serve humanity. They are not meant to use to oppress them. When you find yourself in a position of power, please make absolute use of it to serve people, because the things you do today is what posterity will judge you with tomorrow. And the things you don't do today might come to haunt you tomorrow. There is this there is this adage and this proverb that goes in my local language. It says, the child that is throwing stones into the market square, you don't know on whose head the stone is going to land. I mean, your mom didn't go to the market with her helmet on. So when you throw stones into the market square, you don't know on whose head the stone is going to land. Number 4 lesson is about the underfunded and underpaid health sectors and professionals. Now, everybody's coming out in the UK on Thursdays, every Thursday, 8 p.m., clapping for the NHS and clapping for healthcare workers. All over the world, healthcare workers are being overwhelmed by these cases, and people are beginning to appreciate what the healthcare workers do and the efforts they put in. And then we can now see how underfunded and how underpaid a lot of them have been. So they have been neglected for some time until this pandemic, and everybody is now carrying them like a crate of egg. And we have all of a sudden realized that they are very fragile and they deserve to be treated with much respect and with much care. What happened to that respect and that care in the past? What percentage of national budgets had been earmarked for health in the past? Some of them were completely neglected. But now the healthcare workers are now the jewel of the country, the jewel of every nation, because they are now sticking their necks out. They are now at the front line, trying to save lives. And we are now beginning to realize who they are. I hope after this coronavirus, nations across the world will begin to review their healthcare budgets and pay special attention to healthcare workers and those in the social care sector as well, because they are the ones who we call upon when our lives is at stake. Okay, number 5 lesson is that community spirit can be generated. We have seen tremendous stories coming out, where communities have come together to support each other in this time of coronavirus. Just over the weekend, my hometown in Nigeria, there was this event that they organized that the rich and the wealthy donated foodstuff and food items, but people were dying of hunger. There was lockdown, but there's no food. So they donated food items, and people came together to share those food items, and they shared it among people from that community, even though the way it was carried out violated the social distancing guidelines. So I don't want to talk about the violation of the social distancing guide because it was really very, very risky. I saw that thing on social media and I saw how people were really packed in that civic center, all trying to get a share of this food and relief that was sent by the wealthy in the community. But that's an example. I've read of examples where companies have come together to donate food items for people who are struggling in this coronavirus and the lockdown without food, to help them do their shopping, to help them to donate food to them. The food banks are getting donations, and even the NHS workers, people are cooking meals and sending to hospitals for the NHS workers to eat. So community spirit can be generated. It simply means that if we begin to prioritize the human race, we can really create an environment and a world where everybody will be very, very proud of being a human being. Community spirit can be generated, and coronavirus has shown us that we can do it. Now, number 6 lesson is for you to put your house in order. While you still can, put your house in order, whether it's financial or spiritual or personal or social. Put your house in order. People are dropping like flies now. People are dying in their thousands in different countries, and now a lot of them are dying, and they are dying in isolation. Their family can't even come and say goodbye. In places like Italy and the US, we can see, cold room trucks being used to carry coffins. Now, it's no longer ambulances. There is no more dignity even in death now, because the way people are dying there, nobody's paying attention to how you are transported from the hospital where you died to, the mortuary and all that. Cremating people is now like as if we are cremating animals. When you hear the number of people that are dying on a daily basis, you marvel and you'll be asking, are these people's husbands and wives and children and grandchildren and grandparents and all that? They are people's loved ones and relatives. But then again, if these people have families, have they put their house in order? Have you arranged a life insurance? Have you arranged the necessary protection policies? Have you made the necessary financial arrangements for the people you are going to leave behind if you have loved ones? Think about that. Have you really put your house in order in terms of making sure that your family is well set up, emotionally, and they are well set up socially, and that you've taught them the basic principles of life that will guide them even when you're not there? So it simply shows us that this thing can happen to anybody anytime, and anybody can die anytime. But when you are no longer here, what legacy have you left behind? Think about your legacy, and the legacy, not just how much you've left in the bank for your children, but the legacy you've left for them in character and how you'll be remembered after now. That's about putting your house in order and making sure that whenever death comes knocking on your door, that you can basically say, I've done my bit and I've done my best. That's putting your house in order. Number seven lesson is that nobody is immune from danger. We have seen that this virus is no respecter of personality, nor status, nor position. Currently, the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, is in the hospital, because it's been over 10 days, he's been showing symptoms. And on the advice of the doctor, he was taken to the hospital for tests and for further tests. In my country, in Nigeria, the chief of staff, very, very powerful individual, was infected, by the coronavirus. We've had cases of, some governors and some people in high places catching this coronavirus. It's no respect of anyone. Nobody is immune from danger. Therefore, we all should do all we can to keep safe and to obey the guidelines. If you do not obey the guidelines, you'll be caught up with it. But if you're unfortunate to be infected, it's unfortunate. Basically, some people did not get infected because they were not obeying the guidelines. They were simply infected because they met people that they didn't know that were carriers, and it was an unfortunate situation. So that's the more reason we should pay extra attention, and we should be careful, and we should obey and follow the necessary health guidelines so that we are not caught out in all this. Number 8 lesson is that racism can actually be kicked out. People have been asking, how can we deal with racism? How can we kick it out? Coronavirus has taught us that racism is a deliberate, intentional crime against a particular race, simply because some people are feeling superior than others. In Italy, we saw the video of Cuban doctors landing in Italy and entering Italy to a standing ovation, to an applause from the Italians, applauding those Cuban doctors who have come to help them fight the coronavirus. And guess what? Most of those Cuban doctors, or if not all of them, are blacks. So the skin color didn't matter anymore because it's about life and death. But in the same Italy, During football matches, we've heard of racist chants by football fans. And the football authorities in Italy have refused to do anything about it. They treat it with kid gloves because then it doesn't affect anybody's life. But they've forgotten that it affects people's lives, families. The people that have been abused are emotionally, abused by all those things, and they're emotionally affected. But now, because it's affecting lives, they don't care your skin color anymore. If you're good enough to save a life, please come and save a life, and then they will applaud you. The NHS staff, doctors and nurses that some people are applauding, some of them are blacks, some of them are Asians, some of them are not whites, but then people are applauding them because now it's no longer a case of where you come from. It's about what you can contribute, which should have been the mentality from day one. It should never have been about your skin color, where you come from. It should always have been about what you can contribute and who you are as a human being. As long as you're a human being, your skin color shouldn't make you feel uncomfortable anywhere by anybody. So racism can actually be kicked out if the authorities, if the governments, if individuals, if human beings can be true to themselves. The first 3 sets of doctors that died of coronavirus in the UK are Muslims. They sacrificed their lives while trying to save the lives of those who maybe at some point some people might have abused them in the past when they came into this country as Muslims or as Asians. The other day on the news, a Nigerian doctor in the UK died, leaving his family behind because he was fighting coronavirus at the forefront of it. So we can see that the human race is the most important race. Anything else is a deliberate, intentional crime committed because somebody just felt they have the right to offend others without any consequences. Number 9 lesson is that there is always a different way. There's always a different way of doing things. People are already working from home. Some companies have instituted a remote working strategy where people can work from home and they can still do the same thing they are doing effectively and efficiently. People are now at home and they are adapting to situations. People can now queue outside of supermarkets and they can orderly do their shopping and orderly leave the supermarkets. People are beginning to come to the realization that things are no longer the same as they used to be, and we have to learn how to do things. My children in the house now, they do workouts. They turn on YouTube and every day and every morning, they do their workouts. They keep fit in the house because they can't just stay in the house, keep eating and just keep getting fat. So there's another way. There's always an alternative to doing things. If we can challenge our human minds, or we can see that there is not just one way of doing things, we can find other ways of doing things. People are now beginning to explore other ways of making money while they are staying at home, because that is what they've been confined to. That's the only thing that they can do. So there's always another way of doing things if we can challenge our minds to doing it. Number 10 lesson is that opportunities lie even in crisis. Opportunities lie even in crisis. With the world capital market falling, with the world capital market crashing, even falling as much as 35% or more, that's an opportunity for some people. If you want to invest in certain companies and buy certain shares, this is the time to do it. People are grabbing opportunities now. People are investing in gold now rather than the capital market because they are looking for commodities that they can hold their money in that has a better resilience than the capital market and all that. So those who are investors in gold and those who are offering investments in gold are reaping the opportunity now, because in that moment of crisis, an opportunity. In the property market, some people are grabbing bargains now in the property market because people are willing to listen to lower offers, and if they have enough deposits on their hands, they can complete quickly on that because mortgage companies or mortgage lenders have reduced the amount of loan. Some of them have reduced the amount of loan to value that they are happy to offer in this current circumstance because they cannot do physical valuation. So if they say they can only offer you 60% mortgage, it means if you have 40% deposit, you can actually pick up a bargain if the landlord is happy to do a deal, and then the mortgage lender can do desktop valuation and you can buy the property. So there is always an opportunity even in crisis. So those are the 10 lessons I want to talk about that we can learn from this coronavirus season. Now I want to talk about the dangerous conspiracies and some of the conspiracies that has been bandied around in this time of coronavirus. And some of these conspiracies are even more dangerous than the coronavirus itself, because anyone that believes and buys into them is really risking his or her life, because it makes you take your eyes off Please take your eyes off the ball and you're focusing on things that you're not supposed to be focusing on, and focusing on something else. Now, some of them may sound crazy, but just like that, some people really believe it, some spread it, and some just accept it hook, line, and sinker, and they're defending it with everything they've got. Number one on that conspiracy, dangerous conspiracy theories I want to talk about is the link between 5G and coronavirus. For goodness sake, how? How are those two things related? Some of those conspiracy theorists are saying that the 5G is capable of, weakening our immune system and making us more vulnerable to the coronavirus. There has been no scientific evidence to this at all. And in fact, by rating of, electromagnetic waves, the 5G falls within the category of telecommunications. And these telecommunications, they use basically the same electromagnetic wave that TVs and radio stations, use. Even they are less harmful than sunlight. So I don't know how people managed to get themselves to believe that there's a link between 5G and coronavirus. 5G is just an improvement on 4G. And from experts, they have explained that 5G simply means fifth generation. So it's just an improvement on the fourth generation. So there has been 2G, two generation, 2.5G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. Why is 5G now termed dangerous? Simply because there's a coincidence between 5G being on road, being rolled out, and the coronavirus, breaking out. And then some people just some mischief makers try to coin some kind of relationship between that. So please and please, do not be stupid enough to believe all those lies that you're seeing on the internet. The internet is such a fascinating thing that if you want to confuse yourself, there is enough materials on the internet to confuse you. If you want to deceive yourself, there's enough materials on there for you to deceive yourself. If you want to lie to yourself, there's enough there to lie to you and to lie to yourself. But look for the authentic information where you can get news that you can verify and things that you can reason and it makes sense. It doesn't make any sense that you are using your phone to spread news about a 5G. Your phone is using 4G. You're already using the internet, which is thriving on some of those fourth generation technologies. So why should an improvement on that fourth generation technology become harmful to you all of a sudden? What makes you think? What is China and the US gonna benefit from killing the whole world so that they can have their way through 5G? Imagine how many people have died of coronavirus. If this is all about 5G and they kill people who are supposed to use 5G, who are they gonna sell it to? Who exactly is going to use the technology that you are going to invent if you decide to kill everybody who's going to use it? I really don't know how people's mind function. So scientists and specialists and experts have come out to tell us that there is no link between 5G and coronavirus. And no, 5G does not weaken our immune system. All right. So anywhere you see that rubbish, trash it and don't pay attention to it. I have refused to get into that argument with so many people because it's obvious that their belief is beyond conviction that there is a link. And I have struggled to find, the basis of that belief. I cannot find any. But I just want to use this platform to say, hey, people, enough of this. And this is basically coming out of Africa mainly. I have listened to several people on several platforms, especially from my country, Nigeria. People talking all sorts of rubbish and gibberish that are based on no found scientific evidence of 5G being some kind of conspiracy and being some kind of connivance. In fact, some people said that the reason the lockdown happened was to enable the telecommunications to mount masts for 5G. And some were even sending videos on social media of pipes or cables being laid somewhere in Lagos in Nigeria and saying, oh, this is the reason they will ask us to go inside so that they can lay the 5G cable without us knowing, and then they can, deal with us. So you mean your government actually asked you to go indoors so that they can lay 5G cables? And what contribution is the 5G to the national GDP and economy that will warrant shutting down the whole economy and shutting down every activity so that 5G cable can be laid? Has anybody told you that there is a protest going on about 5G? If there is any issues about 5G, it's mainly political and economic. Countries and businesses fighting for spaces. Basically fighting for market share. It has nothing to do with a conspiracy. It has nothing to do with the lockdown. Let us be reasonable, please. That is basically what I'm asking you to do. Just be reasonable. That's one of the conspiracy theories I wanted to deal with. The second one, number 2 and number 3, has to do with Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. They said that Bill Gates wants the whole world chipped before they are vaccinated, and that the Bill Gates have invested in pharmaceutical companies to produce vaccines, and that's why they have infected the world with coronavirus so that they can make lots of money. And Bill Gates has invested in research in a lot of pharmaceutical companies. I mean, what sort of trash is coming? And these things are just coming out of Africa. Because they said Bill Gates is trying to insert a chip in every single individual in the whole world, that he is the Antichrist, and he's trying to, fulfill the 666 prophecy about all that. Who is feeding you with all this rubbish? Your mindset is keyed already into believing trash. And when you feed your mindset with so much trash, what you exhibit and what you produce is trash. Now, let me tell you something. As far back as 2016, Bill Gates had already invested up to $9 billion in Africa. And then he now promised to invest further $5 billion in Africa in the next 5 years, as far back as 2016. Those $5 billion, guess what they want to use for? Financial inclusion, pharmaceutical research, dealing with diseases and virus, dealing with, sanitation and healthcare sectors, areas that so many African governments have failed their people. And Bill Gates Foundation came in they stepped in to, kind of reduce that healthcare gap. And here are Africans that Bill Gates and his wife and their foundation are helping, throwing out all kinds of gibberish at him, saying that he's, accusing him of all sorts of things. Listen, if you're part of those spreading this news, and if you're part of those believing, stop it right this minute. You cannot sound more stupid than you already sounded. And I'm being very, very firm on that, because all this, in fact, today I posted information on my Facebook page. News 24, one of the people that carried that fake news about Bill Gates and his intentions about vaccine, which they picked up from the interview between Trevor Noah and Bill Gates, and they apologized to Bill Gates for that publication, and they apologized unreservedly. But these are the same publications and the same thing that we have been carrying about and spreading. Some people who are spreading this news did not even listen to the interview between Trevor Noah and Bill Gates, where they did not mention anything like testing the vaccines in Africa. So please, let us kill that conspiracy theories here and now. Bill Gates' intention for Africa is to help elevate the African continent, elevate the African person, and give Africans the opportunity to discover who they are and to be relevant in the world. If you do not want to key into that aim or that goal, then you are one of the people, you are part of the problem. How can you deny your people the opportunity of benefiting from a vaccine simply because you think Bill Gates is going to benefit from it economically? If he's investing in pharmaceutical companies to generate vaccines to cure this coronavirus, what is wrong in that? It's an investment. Yes, if he makes money from it, so be it. It doesn't mean that he had economic benefits on that coronavirus and he was really, praying for it to continue. It doesn't mean that he was the one that created the coronavirus. He's only seeking for solution. And your own solution is just sitting down in your house and then typing rubbish and spreading rubbish and sharing rubbish. Stop it right now and right this minute, because you are sounding very stupid. You are more dangerous than the coronavirus itself if you are part of those who are spreading this fallacy. It's a fallacy. Okay? The other conspiracy theory I want to deal with, it's people saying that there is no coronavirus in Africa. And some celebrities are coming out and they're even joining in spreading this fallacy. Coronavirus is in Africa, it kills in Africa, and there are cases in Africa. If you do not believe it, you are dumb. If you think it's not in Africa, you are dumb. Listen, I understand that there has been cases, Africans and their governments, there have been mistrust between the African follower and their governments. There's a case of mistrust. So anything that comes from the African government, there's always it's received with some sense of suspicion. But people, this is not just about you and your government. Look at what is happening around the world. What makes you think Africa is immune from coronavirus? Anybody can carry coronavirus and anybody can spread it and anybody can catch it, including Africa and Africans. So coronavirus is real. It is in Africa. All you've got to do is stay safe and keep to the safety guidelines as produced by the government. The other thing I want to talk about on this coronavirus conspiracy theories is that coronavirus is a product of the Illuminati. Yeah. So all those who are spreading all these, fictitious religious rubbish about the Illuminati and the coronavirus and everything. The moment coronavirus entered Africa, that's when we started hearing about all these religious conspiracy theories about the Illuminati, about the fakeness of the virus, about Bill Gates and 666, about 5G and how it wants to affect. Listen, there is nothing like Illuminati that is associated with coronavirus. We do not care about where coronavirus came from, and definitely not a product of Illuminati. What we care about is how to save lives. If what you are going to be spreading as an information does not contribute to saving lives, keep it to yourself. All right? Because it simply means that you are selfish, you are stupid, you are dumb, and you do not care about other people. Anyone who cares about people now should be talking about how to save lives. What can you do to contribute to either you are cushioning the effect of the coronavirus or you are helping people stay alive and stay safe, and not spreading all this Illuminati nonsense. And it's being spread by some religious people and religious leaders. So many of them are angry because they can no longer congregate their hundreds of thousands of members to collect tithes and offerings from them. And then they come out on air and they come out on social media and they keep deceiving people. Stop it right now, right this minute, because posterity is going to judge all of you. Now, the other conspiracy theory that is flying around here is about this virus being a sign of the end of the world. It's all about what I'm talking about, and that the virus is a mark of the end of the world, or the rapture is happening, or the world is coming to an end. And all that. Listen, China has been through the coronavirus season and they have recovered from it, and life has returned to normal in China. And if we look at the curves in certain countries now, the daily death occurrences, the curve is gradually coming down. It simply means that this thing will hit its peak and then it will start coming down. And gradually, with everybody's cooperation, we'll ride through this storm and we'll come out on the other side of it. The world as we know it now is changing, and it has changed, and coronavirus is going to change a lot of things even after now, but certainly not the end of the world. Okay? Stop being brainwashed by certain greedy pastors and greedy people who call themselves men of God, who are feeding you with all kinds of rubbish in their heads, simply because, ask many of them, how many coronavirus patients have they healed through their healing powers and miracles? All they do is just come to feed you with all kinds of nonsense about this being the end of the world. China has suffered it and they have come out of it, and their war has not ended. The rapture has not occurred in China. If you are a Christian or a Muslim or whatever your faith is, please be cautious. People are out there trying to feed on your gullibility. Do not oblige them. The other one I want to talk about, I've talked about the global lockdown being as a result of 5G cable being laid. That is absolute trash. And then another one is that they are saying America created the coronavirus as a bioweapon. You see, I don't want to dwell so much on who created the coronavirus. And some people are blaming America, some are blaming China, saying that, it's a war between America and China, creating the coronavirus, a bioweapon, and all that. The essence of all this is not to find out who created coronavirus. We all know it originated from Wuhan in China. And the story around it is about it coming from a bat. That it's a virus that was transmitted from a bat to a human being and it spread all around the world. So all these theories about China and America using a bioweapon, I do not want to meddle into those kind of talks and the bioweapon conspiracy theories and all that. I am interested in keeping safe and staying safe. Because if we start digging deep into what America and China are doing, and whether the coronavirus is a bioweapon, if it's a bioweapon, have you checked how many people have been infected in America? Have you checked how many people are dying on a daily basis in America? So America can actually create a weapon that will kill its own citizens in thousands, kill people all around the world, close to in millions. All right. So America will create that weapon to wipe off people from the surface of the earth to achieve what? What does it benefit America from wiping people off the surface of the earth? To gain economic power. And when you gain that economic power, who's going to give you that economic power? Is based on trade. And who are the people conducting trade? Human beings. If you don't have people to trade with, if you wipe out people who are going to, for example, the Prime Minister of the UK is suffering from coronavirus. Assuming he dies, God forbid. So it then means that America will now wait for UK to have a new Prime Minister before they can. I mean, how? Because the virus doesn't know anybody. It can kill anyone. It can even kill Donald Trump. It can even kill whoever you said invented it. So please, let us reason these things before we start spreading all these fake news. Okay? The last one I want to mention here on this conspiracy theory is that vaccines are dangerous for Africans. Nobody is interested in infecting Africans with coronavirus through the vaccine. The vaccines that are being developed in certain parts of the world is for everybody. If Africans are going to benefit from it, so be it. Americans are going to benefit from it. Everybody around the world who is suffering from coronavirus are going to benefit. Why do you want to deny your African brothers and sisters the opportunity of benefiting from a vaccine that will solve their health problem? Meanwhile, your elites, the ones who are rich and wealthy among you in Africa, will fly out of the country at the slightest feeling of a headache to go and treat themselves. The people who cannot fly out are the ones who are going to benefit from the vaccine. Vaccines have worked. Vaccines work during the influenza. They've worked on polio. They've worked on HIV. They've worked on cholera. They've worked on Ebola. Vaccines do work. Why do you then begin to propagate this conspiracy theory against vaccines? Because you want to propagate one kind of selfish ideology and theory, denying people who are supposed to benefit from this vaccine the opportunity of doing so. So, especially my African brothers, let us be careful. Do not let anyone deceive you. These conspiracy theories are more dangerous than the coronavirus itself. All you've got to do now is to follow the government's guidelines. Coronavirus is real. Stay safe, stay at home, and save those who are the front line, who are healthcare workers, who are working day and night to save lives. The more you abide by these rules, the more lives we are more likely to save. And together, we'll fight and battle this and come out of it victorious on the other side of things. So God bless you all as we all abide by this, and God bless you all as we all remain loyal to the truth. Thank you and goodbye. See you later.